Greetings from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where the CBA negotiations were discussed and players and coaches alike got ready for the festivities. Locked on Women's Basketball starts now.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball. I'm your host, Howard Megdal, and I want to thank you for making us your first listen every day. Over 350,000 of you showing up for us the way we show up for you every single day, not just 6 days a week anymore. Your team shows as well. And of course, it is not just me, it is the incredible team over at thenexthoops.com, where we have over 100 reported pieces every single month dedicated to the past, present, and future of women's basketball. But first and foremost, it's important for us to talk about the meeting that took place on Thursday between more than 40 players in the WNBA. For those who don't know how sizes work with rosters and that there's still just 13 teams, that's a huge number of people. Largest player meeting we've ever seen in a negotiation. Met with Kathy Engelbert and negotiators on the WNBA side. Had the opportunity to catch up with both Nneka Ogwumike and Napheesa Collier, two senior members of the negotiating team. Let's hear what they had to say, and let's talk about what it means. First, I want to start by talking to Fee, just getting the overview about what this has meant.
A strong message that we're taking this extremely seriously. The points that we're talking about, we're going to hold firm on them, and so I thought it was great to have that face-to-face meeting.
When it comes to what Terry expressed to a few of us was that you guys were told by the league to hear you over and over. How are they exemplifying that they hear you? How are they demonstrating that with action, or is it just something that was said?
I think this was kind of like a first draft, and so both sides are going to come with the highest of what they, are, I guess their lowest, our highest of what we're looking for. And so, again, I think it was just a good meeting ground, because when you're going back and forth with contracts with lawyers, it's like texting a lot, it can get lost in translation. To hear face to face, I think they understood even more like what we're asking for, and so hopefully that is exemplified in the next round of contracts.
Fee, what does structure need to look like? What does the structure need to look like for this agreement for the players? What is transformational?
Rev share is a huge thing that we're looking for, so that is going to have to be something that is something that we're holding firm on. That it has to be something that changes in the next one.
Was progress made, you said?
Not contract wise, because we're not we didn't bring the contracts out negotiating that, but I think in the way that they really understand what we're looking for. So I think that was progress.
To hear what Napheesa Collier had to say, really significant, really important. It's worth remembering, obviously, Napheesa Collier has her finger on the pulse of this business, not just as a member of the WNBA Senior Executive Committee, but also somebody who is a co-creator of Unrivaled, and I actually just want to take a brief moment on that. This nonsense about conflict of interest. Unrivaled is a way for players to make money in the off season. No different than going overseas. If it's a conflict of interest, literally playing overseas. Anybody who does anything other than the WNBA 12 months a year is conflict of interest. I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding of how the space for the league works. So anyway, just thought that was important to get out there. But she's talking about revenue share. And again, here's where we're starting to see where the rubber hits the road. It cannot just be a question for the PA of putting out, we want what is ours. I talked to Kelsey Plum, and Kelsey Plum again spoke eloquently about the fact that it isn't just about getting a piece of a peach. We've talked about this. WNBA ultimately owns only 42% of its own league. It's a estimation because there are NBA owners who own WNBA teams, and then 16% of the league owned through the capital raise from 2022. But the reality is that these specific asks are at a time where the players have more leverage than they've ever had before. And so a structural change is significant. So let's hear what Nneka Ogwumike has to say about that, because I thought it was really telling the things that were her points of emphasis today after this meeting too.
Gotcha.
Nneka, when you see this proposal, are you seeing a structure that is similar? Is it a question of numbers and trying to meet numbers, or are your structures different from one another? You hear transformational, and Terry talked about this yesterday. That we don't even have agreement on transformational. I want to sort of drill into like what did that transformational mean, and do you guys have a structure in place that is at least similar to what their structure offer was?
No, our structures are not similar.
Okay. Okay. Can you give us a detail on a difference in that structure? I'm talking to Fees, she talked about revenue share. KP's talking about how you're measuring is not a piece of a piece, because as we know, it's 42% instead of 100% on the ownership side. Like, what's the biggest number that's going to change for you to make it transformational?
Well, rather than giving you a number in terms of salary structure, we're looking for a percent of revenue share, and they're still offering fixed for us.
I see. Okay. Yeah,
so
no, that's really helpful.
It's just fundamentally different.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what that means, right? A fixed percentage means if the league continues to grow, players aren't taking ownership of that, for lack of a better phrase, right? They are not benefiting from the CBA growing. And so you heard other players talk about, well, this is intended to be a long-term deal. And there's a new detail that we're hearing about that, but it certainly makes sense. W just signed an 11-year media rights deal. They have expansion going out through 2030. The more that the WNBA can put itself in a position to have labor stability gives them the best opportunity for long-term growth and success as well. So certainly would make sense for the players to have something built in. Well, you got to give something to get something. You want long-term labor peace. Players are saying they need a percentage of that growth. And by the way, that shares in the dangers as well, right? If you are getting a percentage of revenue and revenue were to go down, then the players are sharing in that risk as well. But it is very telling, I think, that neither side thinks that's where we're going. It is certainly, if I may say so, not where I see the WNBA going as well. So really interesting, really important matters. Now you see what's ahead, you see what's next. But fundamentally, I've said this, I'll say it again and again, I think there's too much money at stake and there's too much money to share for this not to happen between the players and the WNBA. So that's where we are in the CBA. Again, this is the start of a celebration as well. We do have room for both here. We cover everything and we're within the gray area. So in segment 2, we're going to talk about some of the skill competition, the fun that goes along with that. I had a chance to talk to Natasha Cloud about it and Sabrina Ionescu as well. So I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. But first, Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish your managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Howard Megdal here, Locked On Women's Basketball. And segment 2, we're going to be talking about the skill competition and the fun of it. And again, for those who may not have heard, Caitlin Clark not playing. Lexi Hull is playing in her place. Lexi Hull, who has been on the podcast several times, near 50% three-point shooting for the second year in a row. So Lexi Hull holding it down for her teammate and for the hometown Indiana fan. So Sonia Citron, Lexi Hull, Alicia Gray, Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum talking 3-point competition. I had a chance to talk to all of them about it this morning, and really Sabrina, who is coming in with, let us say, the most success of the group on the 3-point competition, taking a very laissez-faire approach to it. So let's hear what Sabrina had to say about it.
My priority is really necessarily trying to figure out how to shoot off a rack. It's really trying to enjoy the weekend, try and rest my body as much as I can, because obviously the second half is grueling. Our August is grueling, like our schedule, but also just kind of have fun. So whatever happens tonight, I'm not too worried. I mean, the last time I was here, I was going up against Steph Curry, so the pressure to that, I feel like now this feels like a practice round compared to what I had to go through there in terms of like the pressure that I was feeling. And I'm honestly just able to like enjoy and have fun tonight, not take it too seriously.
Yeah, and Sabrina, just in terms of the specifics of the 3-point contest, Sonia's talking about she's looking for an opportunity to learn from you as somebody who's, how much of this is collegial, how much of this is competitive, where's that balance strike? Because obviously, it is for fun. It is just a friendly competition, but I know you always like to win.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done it enough to really know any techniques. Like, I really only have participated in the W1 once, and then, obviously the one against Steph, and that one was kind of different in its own right in terms of like I shot from the NBA line, and everything was just different about it. So I wouldn't say that I'm super experienced in this. Obviously, I got hot and killed it the first time I did it, and so I kind of just stick to my routine of doing it, and would love to help anyone if they need help. Obviously, shooting off a rack is different. Like, there's great players and great shooters that it just messes up your rhythm, and it's just completely different than shooting in a game, obviously. And so I think if I can offer any pointers or tips, I will absolutely love to.
Very Sabrina response to that, of course, and somebody who has always believed in extending the ladder down behind her. Sonia Citron, for her part, talked about the fact that Washington Mystics have been too busy exceeding expectations. Is not her phrase, but the phrase I'll use. That they really haven't had a chance to have her practice anything that goes along with this as well. So they'll be going in fresh. They'll be going in having some fun. It is a real challenge, and as somebody who's just in awe of the way they shoot overall, something I can't wait to see. I mean, maybe my favorite WNBA 3-point shooting contest experience was watching Allie Quigley back in 2018 capture the title in Minnesota. She was terrific at it. I mean, she's retired, but I wouldn't mind seeing her back out there giving it her best shot as well. We all miss watching Allie Quigley play basketball, I think, is more the point. But there are these two elements here, right? There's the 3-point competition, which is a lot of fun. Again, and we're going to talk more about this with Cheryl in segment 3, but there's real growth and development into how this has gone from an all-star game into an event. And talking about what that means was significant with Natasha Cloud as well. It was part of the skills competition. And again, just to make sure you're aware, Natasha Cloud, Skylar Diggins, Alicia Gray, not a typo. She's in both, won both last year. Erica Wheeler, Courtney Williams are the ones participating in the skills competition. So listen to Natasha about both the CBA and also about the skills competition. Hi, Tosh. How you doing? I got two. One, just building off Annie's question. The word transformational kept being used, and Terry talked about there's not even sort of agreement on transformational. And I'm wondering, for you, what is like the one detail, the one change that really will make it look transformational? And then just the other one is for skills competition. How do you even prepare for that?
I know that's why I was kind of asking now. I was like, do we get to practice the skills competition at all? But either way, we're just hoopers. We're gonna go out there and do our best and put on a show for the fans tonight. So I'm excited for that. But to the first part of your question, this is a really pivotal moment in our league's history, and I think we have a huge opportunity to make a transformational CBA for the next, not only our generation now, but the next generations coming into this league. And this is going to be a long CBA too, so we want to make sure that in 2030 or whatever it is, that we are still reaping the benefits from the CBA just as much as the owners, the teams, and the league. And so the biggest thing for me is the revenue sharing. understanding that there has to be a common ground between us, but I think what was presented is just a slap in the face.
Again, Natasha Cloud, who always does credit to whatever group she is speaking on when she speaks, said it really eloquently. And just this idea, and again, it goes back to when I made in segment one, why I think this gets done ultimately, is I think there's enough goodwill to go along with it. I think it's important that the players understand, and Natasha, again, has shouted out the current ownership group that operates the team she plays for with the New York Liberty, has gone out of her way to talk about the fact that, look, both sides need to negotiate. The phrase using, we're not going to hold hands while we do it. They're going to have arguments for their point. We're going to have arguments for our point. We're going to try and do this together. I think it was really significant because, again, it goes back to everyone can be a grown up in the room about this. There's real money to be made here. There's a real statement that needs to be made about intentionality for the league. And hearing the players talk in those specific ways was really heartening to me as somebody who's covered previous negotiations. These are players who are fully engaged. These are players who are aware of the stakes and the opportunity in front of them. And I know Kathy Engelbert in the WNBA is as well. So really interesting to see, time to get it done. And it'll be a fascinating next, I think it's 106 days until the end of the season. It typically, and having covered a lot of negotiations, time pressure tends to make it happen. So the fact that it doesn't get done, say, in August is not some reason to think that doom is upon us. A little patience will be required here, whether or not we go from no incentives boosters to something pegged to revenue. Hard to imagine that doesn't ultimately happen. Uh, what that's traded for will be fascinating. A lot of details unrevealed. I had the chance to talk to Napheesa Collier a little bit more about that. There's stuff they're not getting into. They're not negotiating every point in the media at this point, but we're certainly getting an understanding now of what the stakes are. I think that's really, really important. The stakes for the skills competition, much lower, much more fun. It's 8 p.m. tonight. I would urge you to watch. I'm not going to watch on TV, obviously, because I'll be here in person covering it. We'll have a lot out of that and reaction post game as well with some of our shorts here. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, Locked On Women's Basketball, or make sure you're listening to wherever you get your podcast. Before we go, though, I want to let Cheryl Reeve talk a little bit about some of the differences between this and the past All Star games where she's coached, where she was a part of them dating back to, as she pointed out, 2002. So back, final segment right after this. I'm Howard Megdal. You're listening to Locked On Women's Basketball. Locked On Women's Basketball is brought to you by OpenPhone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe a plumber or a service provider of some kind. If the person doesn't answer, what do? You move on to the next one. Well, that's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets you manage business calls and texts all from a single app. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonnba. That's openphone.com/lockedonnba. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Howard Megdal here, Locked On Women's Basketball. And for a final segment, I want to turn things over to Cheryl Reeve to talk about the differences. And if I could get personal for a moment, I've been covering this league for over a decade. I remember coming to Mohegan Sun for the 2015 All-Star game. And there was almost no way to know that an All-Star game was taking place. There were no surrounding events. There was no skills competition. There was no three-point contest. It was an open practice. It was poorly advertised. People kind of wandered in and out of it. Steph Dolson won a dance contest. And I guess that's the philosophical question, right? If Stephanie Dolson wins a dance contest and there's no one around to see it, did it really happen? It probably doesn't matter to Steph, who always dances like nobody's watching, but it fundamentally reflects a league that, and this has been the up and down forever, right? It's a league that felt like it was a lot of our little secret. And seeing the growth and seeing the development, it comes with challenges. It comes with its own. That's why the CBA negotiations are the way they are. But it's so refreshing to see this resonate, to see this be mainstream. When that was told to lots of people, it never would be, Cheryl included. So here's Cheryl reflecting on that, and we'll finish up after this, but I wanted you to hear what she had to say. She has been in this from the beginning, and to see Sandy Brondello, who played in the All Star game in 1999, get to experience this. There's a certain kind of joy in that. These are the people who built it. Hi, Cheryl. The thing you just spoke about is having these all-star experiences, but there's some fundamental differences and sort of two parts to this. One, there's so much more branding and surrounding events, and it's night and day. I was reminiscing with someone about 2015 where there's nothing other than the game itself, and I'm just wondering what you've seen and how that changes your own experience, and then just for you personally, how do you go and make sure that it doesn't all fly in a blur and you can enjoy it and remember it?
Yeah, well, that part's going to be hard for sure, for the players, probably more than the coaches. They're pulled in so many different directions, but in the best of ways. As you mentioned, 2002 was my first All Star game in Washington D.C. It was an incredible experience, but I think in terms of just how far we've come and the branding and the marketing and sponsorships and the activations and all those things as a league, it's significantly better. Certainly for opportunities for players, even players that are not playing the game. So we're finding amazing ways to monetize their brand, and it's a great space that we're in, and it's very different than what it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Again, very different from what it was just a few years ago. And there's two parts to that, right? She's absolutely right. Over at WNBA Live, there are players who are monetizing their brand, and that matters. That absolutely matters. But there are fans who are here, who are streaming in there, who are having first-person, in-person experiences. That is happening in real time. And so from that perspective, getting the opportunity to see fans relating directly to players, to coaches, to figures in women's basketball, it all brings you closer together. It all brings you closer to the action. It all makes for these long-term bonds. This is something that Major League Baseball fans have had the opportunity to do. My older daughter at age 3 went to FanFest when the All-Star game was at Citi Field and got to connect to baseball players. My younger daughter is right now, as we speak, as I'm recording this, at WNBA Live, getting to do that for the league that's her favorite. And she gets to have those experiences now too. And so it really matters. It really matters that people get these opportunities. It really matters that the WNBA has stepped up in a way that they're doing this. CBA is going to matter too. Maybe the three-point contest and the skills competition don't matter quite as much, but they matter. It's all part and parcel of being able to consume this the way people need to. So that's all we have for today's show. Again, thank you for making us your first listen every single day. So much more to come here from Indy, and we will be with you. Our full team will be taking you through everything that's going on. So thank you again for making us your first listen here. Make sure you're watching skills competition, three-point competition tonight at 8, Saturday night, 8:30 p.m. The game itself, WNBA All Stars, Team Clark. Sandy told us she's going to let Caitlin take as much of the coaching as she wants. And Team Collier, coached by Cheryl Reeve, no stranger to this. Until then, I am Howard Megdal, wishing every single one of you the happiest WNBA All Star weekend yet. See you tomorrow, everybody.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.